Hello everyone, this is your 4-minute notification. We will be starting the webinar promptly at 10 o'clock. Hello and welcome to today's webinar on a Sanford Inspire integration into pre-K-12 schools as a professional development tool. My name is Rachel Escobedo. I am the online ambassador for Sanford programs and will be the moderator today. Our speaker is Don Collins from Torrey Pines High School. Don is a teacher and teacher trainer at Torrey Pines High School. He has credentials and experience as an instructor in math, English, and technology, a master's in educational administration, and a master's of science in educational technology. He is a Fulbright Memorial Fund teacher and was awarded Teacher of the Year at both Sunset High School and at Torrey Pines High School. He has worked as a new teacher trainer for the San Diego district for the past 17 years. He was a national director for the Center for Teacher Effectiveness, where he works as a trainer for improving classroom management strategies. Currently, he is on the board of directors for Directing Change, a statewide film contest for high school students to create 1-minute PSAs on suicide prevention and mental health awareness. He and his husband Anthony celebrated the birth of their twin boys, Floyd and Stanley, 2 weeks ago on April 18th. Welcome, Don.
Thank you so much, Rachel, and I'd like to thank you and Veronica and the entire National University and Sanford Inspire program for having me here today. And I'd like to welcome everybody out in the audience. My hope is that I'll be able to address a lot of the questions and issues you may have about creating a Sanford Inspire program at your site. I know we have a mixed group of administrators and teachers and other staff members, so I'll be looking at possible structures you may look at, frameworks, best practices, and we'll have time at the end of the presentation to answer questions specific to your site issues. And my hope is that I'm able to blend three things today. One is information, the other is motivation, and the third is inspiration. My hope is that by the time you're done, we will address these five topics. The purpose and value of creating a Sanford Inspire movement at your school, a case study of Sanford Inspire here at Torrey Pines High School and the San Diego district, which is expanding. The goals and highlights of our programs, the goals and highlights of our Sanford Inspire modules, which is different than the seminars we put on, and how to build a Sanford Inspire movement at your high school, kindergarten, middle school, elementary school. It doesn't really matter what type of, what level you're working at. This webinar will help you address the framework for creating a movement, and we'll get into that more as we go on. I want to get a background right now into who is Torrey Pines, or what is Torrey Pines High School. We are a comprehensive, traditional 2,600 student 9 through 12 high school in beachside community of Del Mar, north of San Diego. We're part of a 15,000 student district, and it's a powerhouse. I'm not sure if there are people from California out in the audience, but Torrey Pines High School has been for 2 years in a row the athletic program ranked #1 in the state. We have lots of state championships in golf and football, lacrosse, all sorts of programs, women's tennis, women's volleyball. We also have an extreme academic powerhouse program for academics, 85% pass rate with over 2,600 AP exams, lots of new programs for digital arts, computer science pathways, and it's just a lot of stuff going on at Torrey Pines High School. We've got award-winning drama, journalism, yearbook. We've got 150 student-generated clubs, from anime to science journals. There's just lots and lots and lots of stuff happening, and there's always new innovations going on at the site. So what's important for us is what we found as a school site, what the administrators and the staff talked about was the need to humanize the teaching. We've got this very high pressure situation that comes with a school that's performing like this. And I think for any school considering how to start a program, you have to ask yourself, you have to really reflect on your school culture and your school climate. And I think a lot of people hear those words, school culture and school climate, and they're not necessarily clear about what they mean. But a school culture is what we do at the school. This slide shows a lot of what Torrey Pines does, and this is our culture. We're academic, strong performance, athletic, strong performance, lots of strong extracurriculars. The climate is how we feel about what we do. And it's tougher to put us on a slide how we feel, but evidence of how students and staff feel at a school is evident everywhere. I worked at a school once where at lunchtime after the bell rang, there was trash all across the quad, even next to trash cans. There was trash all around. Kids wouldn't walk 1 foot to put the trash in the trash can. That says something about the climate of that school. In contrast, at Torrey Pines, for the past 5 years, we've had the GSA. It was the Gay Straight Alliance, but it's now become the Gender Sexuality Alliance on campus. They put on a Rainbow Week in April and decorate the school with posters and informational displays, ribbons, all sorts of things all around the campus. And even with 2,600 teenagers, those displays, those posters, they're not vandalized, they're not torn down, and I think that shows a respect that's kind of pervasive through the school. So your school climate, your school culture, really, really important to consider as you go into creating the Sanford Inspire movement. I'd like to start out by saying, I think for whatever you decide to do and however you decide to do it, what's important is that what you're doing become undeniable. By being undeniable, it means that the message, the training, the involvement, the investment, that it is undeniable. It's true, it's effective, it's powerful, it's meaningful, that the teachers that are doing it have autonomy, that they are allowed to demonstrate mastery, and that there's a purpose with what they're doing. But this undeniability will be the driver for the creation of the movement, and movements often start small and grow bigger. So I've been fortunate. The San Diego superintendent saw some of the work I was doing at Torrey Pines. One of the programs I've run for the last 5 years is our PALS program, our Peer Assisted Leadership Support. We work with, at Torrey Pines also has a large community that come as school, university professors. There's a lot of research by Torrey Pines. So we have some high performing kids, but they transfer from 30 different countries. We've got 30 languages, kids from Russia and Iran and China and Korea, and we have a big ELD program. But part of that transition isn't just the academics, it's the social piece and kids coming from different cultures with different backgrounds, with different language abilities. The PALS program helps welcome and transition those kids. We put on lunches, we put on different welcoming events. We do one-on-one peer support, and we also do a lot of all-campus programs like Yellow Ribbon Week for suicide prevention and Red Ribbon Week for drug and alcohol awareness. So as I've been putting on different programs on campus, the superintendent took notice of those things, and when the opportunity for a partnership with National University in Sanford came up about 3 years ago, he talked to me and the administration talked to me, and for the last 2 years, I've been working as the Torrey Pines Sanford Inspire teacher trainer in partnership with National University in our district. And it's been a successful, great partnership. Here's some of those PALS kids I was talking about. And I've been teaching for 22 years. That's a picture of me as the advisor for the math club at a junior high. Back when I was 20. And I think another thing to understand, and something that I really appreciated about Sanford Inspire, is that it's not prescriptive and it's not defined. It's broad. I think that Denny Sanford, who created this program or created the concept of the program, was looking for ways to create inspirational teachers and did not want to limit himself. And so when I was tasked with the idea of creating the foundation for our Torrey Pines Sanford Inspire program, I sat back and asked myself, what is that? I mean, what does it mean to be inspirational? What have inspirational teachers been like in my life? And for me, I recognize that inspiration is transformational. It's also ephemeral. It's short-lived. You can't live or maintain a state of constant inspiration. So the challenge is creating the conditions for inspiration. And just like you create the conditions for grass, what you'll find is if you create the conditions for grass and you put the seed down, the grass grows by itself because it's in the nature of grass to grow. So if there's the right amount of sunlight and water and the seed is protected, over time, grass grows because it's its nature. And in the same way, if we can create classrooms that are filled with dignity and respect and kindness, that show empathy and humanize the process, kids by their nature will respond and be able to trust the situation enough to demonstrate their curiosity, to perform. And as kids get inspired by teachers they respect and who feel that they're respected by the teachers, that relationship strengthens. You have kids who are performing better academically, you have kids that are happier and performing better socially, and classroom misbehavior and classroom management issues are reduced. It's just the whole process, the climate of the classroom changes. So that's one of the great reasons that Torrey Pines has found for supporting the Sanford Inspire program. It's as an agent of change, you really can transform the climate and the culture of the campus. Here's a short video that we put together about this.
The Torrey Pines High School Foundation is extremely supportive of the Sanford Inspire program because it allows our teachers to be better.
The purpose and value of the Inspire seminars is to give teachers an opportunity to collaborate outside of their normal collaboration. We have regular collaboration built in as educators, but it's typically based on data and student achievement and content standards. And the Inspire program allows them to connect on what we might call the more intangibles. So why are you in the classroom? What makes teaching fun? What inspired you to get into teaching? What teacher inspired you to get into teaching? And reconnect with those so that when they're back in their other professional development, they can apply those core beliefs to the content necessities, for lack of a better term. It allows teachers to look beyond just the content or the achievement or a basic number that we might look at and look at the why and not so quite so much the how.
So that's our foundation director, Nicole Burrell, who has been an incredible support, and also the administrator, principal Rob Copo, who has been a phenomenal support. And I think, again, in light of if there are teachers out there wanting or considering creating this movement, it's been my experience that having the support of strong administrators, and at Torrey Pines, Brett Colleen, Dave Jaffe, and Rob Copo have all been huge supporters of student connection, student wellness, and teacher professional development, which includes this Inspire program. That's one of the ways and one of the big reasons why we're able to do what we do. So the Torrey Pines High School Sanford Inspire Seminars has grown over the 2 years. Initially, it was just the Inspire Seminars, which were all-day workshops, or really all-day seminars, less of a workshop. We added those the second year, but they were exercises to get teachers in touch with why they teach. They were a collaboration around the question of, is teaching a science or an art, and how do those things overlap? Is great teaching and inspirational teaching something that can be taught? Is it something that has a certain style? Is there one style? Are there more styles? We have time for a lot of interdepartment teacher sharing of best practices. A lot of times the science department in a high school, especially a high-powered high school like we have, they're caught up doing science stuff, and they're not talking to the English teachers or the band director. And it's been my experience that there's a lot of benefit and a lot of learning that happens between different disciplines. What I know is some of the best classroom management happens in the music room, because you've got 50 kids with noisemakers, and if you think it's tough to keep an English class quiet, give them a bunch of horns and drums and see how you do. So the seminars are all day 7-hour seminars that investigate the these questions about how do we understand what is an inspirational teaching, how do we impart that in the classroom, and what are different styles and different practices that teachers that are currently practicing and taking the seminar, what are suggestions they have. I also found that over time, teachers really, really appreciate a small group that develops solutions. It reduces teacher stress. And when teachers are less stressed, teachers are better performers. And when teachers perform better, obviously the kids perform better. And everyone is encouraged to work and to their full capacity. I don't know how else to stress the value, importance, and essential aspect of dignity, respect, and kindness in a classroom. But it's often when teachers get overwhelmed with all the minutia, the administrative stuff, the WASC reports and the LCAP reviews and all these other Common Core professional development meetings, we lose touch with why we became teachers. And I think with these seminars and the emails and the different connections that teacher coaches with Sanford Inspire can perform, they perform a role of helping teachers get back in touch with why they became teachers to begin with, which is really, really valuable. My hope is that you walk away from the seminars not only more inspired about what you do as a person that changes lives every day, but you can also return to your class with specific ideas and strategies that you can try out, lesson plan ideas that could transform your concept about teaching in the 21st century and making a positive difference in the lives of the kids that you're talking with. This is some of the seminar feedback. It's been an honor to have the opportunity to do this. And what's been also interesting is to have other teachers support and step up and get other teachers to join in. And that's what's happened with the growth. So that top left one is from a 35-year veteran teacher at Torrey Pines who took the seminar last year in October, 6 months ago. And, that's a big compliment for me. And really, it's a compliment for him. I don't think you can recognize enthusiasm, passion, and commitment in somebody else unless that's inside you. The lower right was pretty cool because that was, I created a second seminar the second year for people that had done the first. And my concern, of course, was that it would be as well received as the first one. And the fact was that teachers found the second piece of information, the second day, just as valuable as the first. The lower left, Carmel Valley Middle School joined in this year. We've expanded from Torrey Pines to include it in other schools that are district at the middle school. And that teacher says that this should be health curriculum district-wide. So lots of positive stuff. And I know that when you have strong, enthusiastic teachers at your sites creating programs, that your staff will respond similarly. One of the things that was shared by a math teacher was this Sanford Inspired Best Practices example was the high-low bet you didn't know. And what she said was, as a math teacher, she had a hard time connecting with kids. But what she did on Fridays, in the last 5 minutes after they had their homework down for the weekend, is that she would pass out she started passing out this template, but then after a while just had them use an index card or scratch paper, and that they would write a high for the week, a low for the week, and a bet you didn't know. Initially, there were kids that didn't really write much, but as she continued to do this, and she would take them home, and over the weekend on a Friday night, she said usually she'd go home Friday, have a glass of wine, and read through them. Lots of kids started to write lots of personal things, because the truth is all of us want to be heard. And this is a simple, easy way for kids to start having lines of communication with you as a teacher. And if there was something like a prom or a homecoming game, a lot of kids might write about it, and you might address that overall in the class, but when kids talk to her individually about breakups or maybe a sick parent or a trouble, addiction in the family with a brother or a sister or their own situation, she was able to go up to them individually, either during the homework time, before class, ask them to come back at lunch, and start really establishing a relationship with the student beyond just her math curriculum. That's how kids start to feel like school is a place that's more than just a math book and in a gym class. So this was one of the best practices that teachers found really, really helpful, really easy, and it's just a matter of making the commitment to do this every Friday, every other Friday, or on a Monday after the weekend. But you just got to fit it into your style and into your program. Here's another video about monthly Lunch Inspire modules that we've done that we expanded this year. And I'll get into where those modules are and how to incorporate them. But this was a great video from a powerful math teacher we have at Torrey Pines, Abby Brown.
The Sanford Inspire program has been really interesting this last couple of school years. It's provided an opportunity to help connect with staff members, especially staff members that maybe I don't get to talk to on a regular basis, and we get to learn about what's going on in each other's classrooms. And it's amazing how some strategies and techniques that a teacher in an English class might use could benefit a teacher in a science class. I teach math, and a lot of the time it's so easy just to get caught up in the momentum of the curriculum. And what are we teaching? What are we teaching? What are we teaching? Not who are we teaching? Who are we teaching? And really trying to reach the students. So the Sanford Inspire program has provided a space for us to reconnect and to think about the why behind what we're teaching and not just the what we are teaching. And the what is still a huge component of the things that must be done every day. However, getting a chance to reflect and think about how that connects with students, how it connects to our own sense of who we want to be as a teacher has been really powerful.
So that video by Abby Brown, she's been an early adopter of Sanford Inspire ideas, and so just to clarify that the Torrey Pines Sanford Inspire seminars are something that I created. They were an all-day way that I felt like I could help teachers get back connected with why they started teaching, that they were devoted to developing sharing of knowledge and skills and mindsets that support academic and personal success of each student in the classroom. And the goal was to help them inspire students more than they already were, and to work together. So most importantly for me, that I've been to a lot of different professional development programs, and I felt like it was a waste of my time. I felt it was a waste of my day, and I had to make a sub plan and leave the classroom, and it wasn't worth my time. I wanted every person in that room to leave and feel like it was valuable, and that's what I built, was two seminars that way. But those were not given to me or created by Sanford, and that's what I was saying about the great thing about Sanford Inspire is you get to create what you need for your school. For Torrey Pines, I really focused it. We have super powerful teachers doing great stuff. My question was, how can we help the kids feel more connected to the teacher in the classroom so that they really are engaged with the stuff we're doing? And one of the first responses I got from the very first year we did it, teachers said, please don't let this just be a one-time off thing. Keep this momentum moving, keep these ideas coming. And so what we did was use the teacher, the Sanford Inspire modules that are online, and I'll show you where to find those in a little bit. I went through those with some teachers and figured out, what do we need at Torrey Pines? What concepts do we need? And we pulled out some of those individual modules, created a schedule, and each month, at the end of the month, we get together as a staff to look at teachers as agents of change, basic proactive classroom management strategies. There's lots of concepts, but you can see on this Google Form sign up that I sent out over the staff email, on the top left, the responses back in January were 19, and on the top right, the responses on February's were 29. So we had a 33% increase in participation in just 1 month, because what happens is when teachers feel like what's happening is valuable, they tell their friends, and if each teacher brought one person, you ended up with doubling the numbers. So we had I try to make sure that that lunch period, which is only 30 minutes, that there's time for the teachers to enjoy pizza that the foundation provides, so teachers get a lunch and a little reward, and they also get to print that certificate out. So there's an aspect of finishing something and getting a certificate. Teachers love getting certificates and free pizza, and sharing with their colleagues, both around this idea and also around what happened over the weekend or what happened over the break. It's been a lot of fun, and it's been very, very successful and rewarding. I want you to remember also, I said it earlier, start small. Don't be afraid if you don't see immediate huge response, which I had a problem with. Our first teacher lunch, which was in November, was just 8 teachers. And you can see Abby there at the right in the middle at the front. But then we moved on into February. We had 28 teachers. And you could see in the middle there the professional development certificate that shows up when you finish the module that you study. The cool part about those modules is that they're really very strongly researched, great information. The delivery is good, the graphics are good, there's a lot of support. So I'm finding teachers, there are some that teachers like better than others. They generate discussion about why teachers agree or disagree with what's going on, but it stimulates this critical thinking around concepts like, how do we cope with stress? How can we act as teachers, as agents of change in a classroom? And so my experience from this Sanford Inspire Torrey Pines partnership is that if you keep moving in the same direction, you're going to end up where you're headed. If you keep moving in a direction toward what you want, other people will join in. And Martin Luther tacked the 95 Theses up there. He was one guy with one idea. He had probably had some friends in the shadows that felt similarly, but that created a huge reformation and a change in the entire European experience. Civil rights movement, women's movements, they're all built, they start small and grow. Here's the page, here's an example of a module at modulesanfordinspire.org. These are free, available, it's easy to sign up, it's a very intuitive website. They come with a coaching guide, that's a PDF, module resource, a transcript if you want to just review it. I've found these things to be super, super cool for helping teachers on their own time. You can pause and come back. You can do 10 minutes, 15 minutes if it's an hour. Sometimes people break it up, but teachers responded. The response has been really positive. We want to have shirts. We're looking at the foundation for creating shirts for people that have come to the seminars and come to the lunches. And the very first seminar we had, when we talked about these shirts, teachers said as a slogan, it's not another thing to do, it's a way to be, it's who we are TP. And Abby actually made that 3-dimensional plaque on the, that yellow plaque is a 3-dimensional plastic model that she created for me, or that she actually said a kid created for me, but that was pretty cool. So here's the website, and there are 5 different topical sections: learning environment, professional practices, motivation, planning and delivery, student growth and achievement. So as an administrator, as a teacher, as a staff member who's interested in starting a Sanford Inspire movement at your school, you really want to look at these 5 areas, and within each one of those, there's lots and lots of modules. Which ones would be valuable for your staff and what your needs are, so that they can be the most inspirational teachers for your students. Torrey Pines is a really particular place with a certain kind of operation going on, and we really looked at how do we connect with students around relationship building. That was the focus that we've been looking at, motivation and relationship building. So one of the things about building a movement is the law of diffusion of innovation. And I'm not sure how many people out there are familiar with this, but what you find, like for instance, when the iPhone came out, there were people that stood in line 10 hours the night before in order to be the first people to get an iPhone. Those people didn't even know really what it was, but they identified and wanted to be part of new technology in the 21st century. And there are other people who even today still don't have mobile phones. There aren't very many left, but those people are not going to buy one, don't want one, don't know, want to learn how to use them. Those are the laggards, and they're at the back end of this deal. So in between, the innovators and the laggards are the early adopters, the early majority, and the late majority. When we started, I gave 2 seminars in October 2 years ago. There were 8 people at the first one, 8 people at the second one, and I was really frustrated because we had about 120 staff members, and I wanted everyone to jump on board with this thing that I thought was really important and a great idea. And what I found was in the middle of the second seminar, I was talking about this diffusion of innovation within the classroom and realized that 8 and 8 is 16 and 2.5 and 13.5 is 16. And I thought to myself, geez, I'm actually exactly on track with this diffusion. Currently, Torrey Pines is really over the hump, and we've had more than 60 people participate in the seminars on our campus, and there's already been 20 teachers from Carmel Valley that have participated. We've got a strong 30% of teachers come to the monthly lunches. And will there be teachers that never ever step foot in any Torrey Pines Sanford Inspire program? Absolutely. And those people will probably be retiring or leaving the teaching profession, because if you're not going to be an inspirational teacher, you have to ask yourself, what are you doing in the classroom? That's my personal opinion. But so to break it down more specifically, lessons learned, start small. Don't think you're going to be able to do the whole staff immediately and everyone's going to jump on board. Movements take time, and they will grow if you continue to water and feed them. You want to have a core group of supporters. We need the true believers. I don't do this by myself. I have got a strong team of other teachers, Jessica Huntsberger and Catherine Mintz and Abby Brown and Lindsay Olson, people that are emailing me ideas. And those people now feel trusted, trust the staff, trust the administration, trust the process and the program enough that they're emailing videos to share within their departments. They're emailing lessons that they've shared, that they've developed, and sharing them among the entire staff. I'll go downstairs, and next to the copier in the teacher copy room, there will be different best practice kinds of templates that are tacked onto the wall, like that high-low bet you didn't know. Another one for classroom behavior, a contract agreement that is a really humanized, good way to help the kid kind of wrap their head around what they're doing and what they need to do in order to get back in class and engaged. Teachers are doing that on their own. So I see evidence of teachers taking the ball and running with it, which is, of course, what we want to do. I mean, it feels like I'm inspiring teachers to inspire one another, which is cool. Does your work have meaning, value, and purpose? Is the plan you have undeniable? Is the information, is the experience that teachers are getting in the training purposeful, meaningful, and undeniable? Don't waste people's time. You want to start with the why. When you start with why we're doing this, what you get is people that want to believe like you believe, that want to join in with the movement and ideas. And when you can teach your class and you start with the why, when people understand why they're doing it, they're more likely to pick up what they're doing and how to do it. But if you don't understand why you're doing it, it's much harder to do it because you don't care about it. When we do better when we know better. How about that? And you want to be clear about your goal and mission. For me, I've been teaching for 22 years, and I'm here about transforming lives. Yes, Pythagorean theorem's important. Yes, Huckleberry Finn's important. But what's important is critical thinking. I know, especially now that we've got the internet and Google and all the different apps and ways that kids can find information in an instant, I need kids that are critical thinkers. I need kids that can collaborate, communicate. I need kids that can synthesize different pieces of information and understand bias. That's what we need. And we also need kids that can set aside troubles and difficulties that may be happening in their lives to be able to focus on how they're going to be able to step forward in their own life, which is sometimes stuff that blocks them, their emotions, their family situations. And I think Sanford Inspire has been great for helping teachers develop a more compassionate, humanizing approach so that kids feel engaged and don't quit on themselves. You got to have staff input. It's not enough to just have one person try to dictate or be an authoritative leader on this. This is about a community and a community movement. You want to build on your successes and understand sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. And those the learning situations can be just as valuable as the big successes. So sharing best practices. In the workshops, you really do want to include time for teachers to be able to give their input, because a lot of the ideas, you don't have to recreate the wheel, and those workshop ideas can result in usable products right away. You want to have fun. You want to have a good time. That's what we're doing this for. Here's an example of this workshopping kind of concept. We had a late start day, and the new principal had just introduced this Torrey Pines pledge. And we wanted to take pride in ourselves, each other, and our school. We also had introduced the ADL's resolution of respect to the school. We are a no place for hate school 3 years in a row now. This has been an important part of generating respect on campus. But what we did was, you can see there are 6 tables with six groups of teachers. Each teacher got one of the 6 concepts on the resolution of respect, and they were brainstorming ideas, looking at videos, short 2-3 minute videos, and each teacher group created a folder on a Google Doc that we shared with the entire staff, so that teachers could each week or once a month, teachers got to decide how they wanted to do it, but they had ready-made, well thought through lessons that some were short 2, 3, 4 minute things, other were longer 20-minute things that teachers could use in their classroom, so that they didn't have to generate it themselves. This enabled teachers to really get into the resolution of respect and the pledge in their classrooms. And it was an easy, great, smooth transition, and teachers found it really useful. I've talked a lot about kindness. I've talked a lot about dignity and respect. March 20th of this year, 2 months ago, a student that I had in 1999 found me on Facebook and sent me this Facebook message. Mr. Collins, I hope you're doing well. I was a student of yours at Sunset High School, class of 1999. I have a memory today that brought me back to a conversation we had almost 20 years ago. It was really helpful to me. Thank you. It reminded me to never underestimate the significant and lasting effect a kindness can have on someone's life. Hope all is well with you. I think you're an excellent teacher. That made my day. What was cool was the next day I went to class, and I'm a hoarder, so I have every card that any student's ever given me. And I remembered Natasha had given me a thank you card at graduation 20 years ago, because that's the kind of gal she is. And I took a picture of it and sent it to her. I said, not only do I remember you, but I obviously still have this card that you gave me because it was important. Mentors. Woman on the left, Marilyn Pugh, was the first. She was the principal that hired me. I gave a seminar a couple weeks ago, and she happened to be there because she was friends with the principal at that school. Amazing to reconnect with a woman that retired 10 years ago. In the middle is Dr. Reisner. He was the principal at Sunset High School, an educator for 40 years, a guy who taught me pretty much everything I know about great teaching. Warren Clam, Dr. Clam was the head psychiatrist for the Naval Hospital here in San Diego. He won Psychiatrist of the Year for the U.S. Navy the year he retired. An incredible resource for me. my mom and dad. In the middle is a meditation teacher and a friend that I've had for 25 years who's transformed my life with really creating space for me. And those lower left, Sandy, Terry, and Marilyn are just three of the teachers in my life. They were my work moms, and they're also people you could see just from their smiles. Great, kind, wonderful, powerful teachers that helped me. And the schools I've taught at that are the best are where you have a mentorship climate. Mentorships improve teacher practices. They keep the veteran teachers engaged. They keep the new teachers with great information, and that improve the practice of the mentor themselves because they're challenged with understanding questions or challenges new teachers have, and they have to think themselves and understand situations. This Be a Marigold, if you just type in Be a Marigold on Google, you'll see the whole article. But Hillary Weeks is an educator who talked about companion planting, and I'm not sure if there's any gardeners out there, but companion planting is you put plants next to each other that help them grow. Chives keep bugs away from peach trees. Basil you want to plant next to tomatoes. Sage you want to put next to cabbage. Marigolds are one of the best companion plants. They keep away bugs and critters. They don't hog nutrients from the soil. And this concept of being a marigold for other teachers is really valuable. And I hope that you can see yourself as a marigold that supports other teachers and a great companion plant in the staff. Good mentors respect what you're doing. The 8 qualities of a great teacher mentor: respect, truth, listening, challenging, celebration, collaboration, safety, empathy. They aren't only the great qualities of a great teacher mentor, they're the great qualities of a great teacher. That's the list. You want to be a great teacher. Be respectful, be honest, listen, challenge, celebrate, collaborate, create a safe environment, and be empathetic to the struggles that kids are having. Being a teenager is tough. Being a toddler is tough. You know what's tough? Being a 2-week-old baby. You know what also is tough? Being the parent of 2 twins. Oh my gosh, changing diapers and feeding every hour. But mentorship climates change the relationships on campus. When teachers enjoy each other, when teachers feel supported and safe with each other, they start working together in ways that aren't just about curriculum, but really about creating an environment where people want to be. And that's important for inspiration. Last month, we had an article, I guess that was 2 months ago, but back in March, the Del Mar Times had an article on San Diego's partnership with National University and the Torrey Pines Sanford Inspire program that we had there. You can see in the middle of that picture, I'm in the maroon short, but the jacket is the superintendent, Eric Dill, who's been, again, a great supporter of Sanford Inspire at Torrey Pines High School. Our principal's down in front. There was a teacher in this group that was a 33-year teacher who said that she was really having a tough time this year, and as teachers we all know that times can be tough, but by lunchtime when Eric Dill came in, she told him that she felt like she could teach another 5 years after just this half of the seminar that she'd been in, because it really is about having a place to feel supported from your colleagues and lots of other stuff. But it's been a powerful thing. This Del Mar Times, if you type in Del Mar Times, Torrey Pines Inspire teachers, that story will pop up. It's a really nice story that covers a lot of what we do here on campus. Where we're headed, here's another video with Mr. Copo, the principal.
I think people should join the Sanford Inspire program at Torrey Pines because, as a French teacher, I have to mention it has that je ne sais quoi. It has a little something that was always missing in professional development and getting together with other teachers. It's a group of people who want to be there. It's a group of people who have amazing ideas, and they really give me the permission to do the things that I've been wanting to do in class, which is connect with students and who they are instead of what they know and what they can do.
Inspiring teachers are transformative life changers, and the Sanford Inspire program at Torrey Pines High School has offered a way and a platform to bring teachers together to share best practices to enable students to experience a transformative, life-changing experience in the classroom.
Where I see Inspire going in the next 5 years, at least within our district, is I predict that there will be a lead Inspire teacher on every campus who's leading these sessions and seminars. And chances are, given the rock star we have in Don Collins here at Torrey, he'll be teaching the teachers in that way, or training the trainers. And we'll have a systemic support for the program within our district because our students and teachers need it.
All right, that's the presentation as a background, and we've got time for questions.
Yes.
Talk to me.
Yes. Dawn, thank you so much for a fantastic presentation. We've actually been getting a lot of comments in our questions box saying just that you've been really given them a lot of great insight and they appreciate your presentation. So let's just jump right into questions. First question is, what modules do you recommend as a new Inspire user at the PK-12 level?
I think it depends on, you want to know the best answer to any question? It depends. And it depends. It depends on, are you stressed out? Teacher handling stress. I love the proactive teacher, how to create a proactive classroom management. I also really liked, there is one about being an inspirational teacher. It's a half-hour unit just on the components of inspiration. And one of the things that really points out and kind of drives home is that inspiration is not just about thinking. Inspiration is about action. If you haven't moved a kid to do something different, you haven't inspired them. And that module, again, half an hour, helps teachers see, and the lunch we had afterward had some of the best discussion around, it's one thing to sit back and say stuff, but it's another thing to see kids pick something up and run with it. So for instance, we have a Japanese teacher, the kids created a Japanese garden, which sounds like a small thing, and if you looked at it, it's just a 10 by 5 foot square area. It's beautiful, it's very zen, it's very cool. But it wasn't just the creation of the garden, it was the funding, it was coming after school. She inspired them and gave them control. She gave them the autonomy, the purpose, the why, the mastery, that those kids studied Japanese gardens, understood what the components were of a garden, and created a Japanese garden on our campus on their own time, after school, with funds that they raised with other activities they did. So I mean, that's a success to me and an inspiration. And what a surprise, she won Teacher of the Year at Torrey Pines this year. Go Sato.
Thanks, Don. Second question, how did your school decide to start Inspire? It's two-part. And how did you get your teachers on board, especially with the time commitment?
Yeah, great question. So again, I was notified by the superintendent who, I mean, there are a lot of decisions that get made above my pay grade. But they knew the kind of work I did. They knew the special programs that I had run. And they knew that I did all campus presentations around suicide prevention. And so they knew my background. And they also knew that I had been a teacher trainer in the district for 15 years prior to this. Working with all new teachers with the BITSA program, and now they have a new name for it, but I've been doing seminars already in a different capacity. So I have a background in public relations. I worked in the military with the media. So I know that there are teachers who are powerful presenters on every campus. It's just the nature of teaching, is to communicate and help people understand stuff. And whether that's a classroom about biology or teacher training and seminar concepts about Sanford Inspire, if you can impart good information in an interesting way, you'll be a success. So it was kind of introduced to me because National University and that Sanford Inspire grant happened 15 minutes away from Torrey Pines, so we have a close relationship. We're near one another. And when I was asked or offered the opportunity to do it, I ran with it because I love this stuff. I think, and I love it because it matters. I love it because it literally changes kids' lives. I was asked last month by a former student who's getting married to marry her. Now, this is a girl who took 7 years to graduate from college, and I told her when she graduated from high school, which none of her friends did. She came from a friend group that was lost in drugs, just a troubled, difficult, at-risk situation. And this gal, I told her, wherever you graduate from college, I'll be there. And sure enough, 7 years later, she put herself through school, and I went up to Santa Cruz, watched her graduate. She's got a great boyfriend. She just finished a master's degree, and in November, I'll be officiating her marriage. You know, that's something that matters in a way. I never asked any teacher to marry, to be my officiant. So it's about relationship. And so how to do it, how the time commitment, you start small. And you have an undeniable, meaningful, purposeful program. You have something that when one teacher goes to it, they start telling every other teacher down their hallway, you got to go to this thing. And then you do it again, and more people come. And you want to make sure that it's not a one-time, we did it one time in January and it's never done again. It's got to be something that teachers can come to that's not too long, and that they start feeling a part of and invested in, so that they can produce and create best practices and share those things as well. It's a platform. Next question.
Thank you. What are the components of building your seminars?
That's a great, I actually was just talking to somebody about this. Again, I sat down with nothing other than the Sanford Inspire website, which at that time was not as strong as it is today. Their website's better. But I looked at what I felt like I was doing Denny Sanford's work. That's what I felt like. And here's a guy who his life was changed by a teacher when he was 8 years old. And he had a very, if you know his story, it's a powerful story. And that's what he wanted, was teachers that made a difference in kids' lives. So I sat down and asked myself, what makes an inspirational teacher? What have been inspirational teachers in my life? And then I started investigating how you do that, why you would do that, what that looks like. And that was my first seminar. So short, to get in the very nuts and bolts of it, I knew it was going to be an all-day thing that started at 8 and ended at 2:30. I knew that I needed a time for lunch. I knew that we wanted to provide lunch, because I think that's one of the great moments of the whole seminar, is we sit together as a staff around a table for, hey, get ready for this, an hour. Ooh, what if you had an hour to sit with your colleagues and talk about what you had just learned about for the last 3 hours? More learning happens, more sense of, geez, I didn't know you did that. You start to learn who else. Maybe the teachers have started a run club as a result of just meeting together and having lunch with people they didn't know also ran. And now we've got this kind of informal group of people that share while they're running. But I broke each hour into 15-minute segments. So short answer, if you're looking to build a seminar, first figure out, is it a half-day thing? Is it an all-day thing? And then break up every hour into 15-minute segments and start thinking to yourself, what's the point? Like, what am I trying to get at? And then how do I get that? How do I get that concept? So for me, I started with the why, I went to the how. I started with the why, I went to the how, and then I went to the what. I started investigating what is inspiration, and found some stuff that I felt was worked for me. There's a lot of my own personal experience in the seminar, because that's what I work from. And I know that whether that personal experience is my experience as a teacher, my experience of failing out of college and getting a tutor and coming back and being successful, or as a teacher and different experiences I've had. So, I mean, I deliver my seminar because I built it. And likewise, you can deliver your seminar because you'll build it that way.
And to build on that question, do you do any specific activities in your seminars?
Do I do specific? Well, the whole thing's specific activities. Yeah, I mean, we watch videos, we have discussions. Yeah, I mean, and I change it. I built a second seminar that was completely different than the first one, because I knew that they had that foundational piece of what is inspirational teaching, what does it look like, what's it look like in your own life. And we started, one of the things I like is that agree, disagree, strongly disagree, strongly disagree, strongly agree. It's called Four Corners, but if you look online, there's a thing called Four Corners where teachers can get up and move to different sections, and you can ask something as simple as, should you have dress codes in schools? You know, should you have uniforms? And watch the people move around, and then have discussions from there. Or you could ask specific stuff around Sanford Inspire modules. You know, do you agree that should teachers be inspirational? I don't know. I guess you could ask that question and see where people go. But it is funny. I mean, I had the experience as a new teacher when I had a student who was 15 years old and couldn't do simple division. I felt like this is not my job. This was somebody else's job in elementary school. And then all of a sudden I realized, if it's not my job, whose job is it? I mean, this is my kid in my class in front of me. This is my job. I mean, if I'm a math teacher and I have to meet the kid where the kid's at, and that's where the kid was at. You know, that wasn't where the class was at, but that's where he was placed. And I talked to people to move him, and they said that's where he is. So that's where he was. And that's what we did, you know, and there's a whole story along with that. But next question.
Nice. And so correct me if I'm wrong. Are your seminars like a flipped classroom model where they watch
yeah, great question. So with the modules we do each month at lunch, where the people watch the module on their own, and then we come together as a group to talk about it. That's the flipped class model. The seminar is an all-day, teacher gets a substitute. They come into my room, and we've got between 8 to 15 teachers that are, and I'm running a class. I'm running a class about how to be an inspirational teacher. Yeah. And I have that, you know, I mean, I can do that. So yeah.
Okay. Nice. So believe it or not, we actually have a fellow Donald Collins. Who's
really?
Yeah.
Must be a good looking guy.
Shout out to Donald Collins. He's asking you, what have you tried that failed or didn't work?
What have I tried that failed or didn't work? You want to know what happened? This is going to be like, I tried too hard. But what happened was, I created this second seminar, and I was so nervous of it not being received as well as the first seminar was received. And that first seminar really has been received well. Teachers just feel reinvigorated and reconnected with why they teach, and you know, all this positive feedback. And I'd given it, by the time I'd created the second one, I'd given it to 50 or 60 people over 5 or 6 days. So I felt very secure and very successful with that first seminar. And so building the second one for the level 2, I was so nervous. I stuck too much stuff in there. And it's a great seminar, but it's really 2 seminars in one, because I jammed so much stuff. The feedback was, you know, this is like trying to get a drink out of a fire hydrant. You just got way too much information. We don't have enough time to process it. So the comments were like, how, you know, break it up so that we have more time to process information. So that's been something that I've had to do, is take stuff out, and that can be hard sometimes when you want to put it all in there.
Awesome, thank you. So that actually comes to the close of our questions. We have a comment from Donald. Let's see what he said.
What did you think about that, Donald?
It says, thanks, Don. It's your sister, Anna.
Yes.
I enjoyed your presentation.
Oh.
I see.
Oh, you tricked me.
Nice.
Hey, let me give a shout out. If you haven't looked up Bulletproof Coffee or Bulletproof Coffee products, check those out. My mom's 84, and she swears by Bulletproof for energy and good health. Bulletproof. It's in Whole Foods and Sprouts.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you so much, Don. We're going to go ahead and bring this presentation to a close. If you do have more questions, please contact Veronica Calvo. Her information is on the screen. She'd be happy to answer any further questions you have about getting Inspire started at your school. We also had Don's contact information on in the beginning.
It's don.collins, don.collins, at SDUHSD, San Diego Union High School District, SDUHSD.
Is it an org?
Oh my gosh.
Is it an edu?
Don.collins at SDUHSD.net.
.net. There you go.
I slowed it down.
It'll be on the slides, and you will have access to the slides and the recording in maybe about 24 to 48 hours. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you so much, Dawn, for a fantastic
Absolutely.
presentation.
And if you heard this and you're interested in learning more or need to talk with me, please email me, contact me, and I can talk to you more about how I can help with your school.
Yeah, definitely. We hope to have him back here with us at the Sanford Center. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and please stay tuned for our next webinar on May 23rd. Take care, everybody.